that I was listening to over and over actually during that was a song called Du bist ein so guter Mensch. I think it translates to "you're a good person." But anyway, that particular song, if you can find that song, season 1, Dark, I feel like that one depicts the whole series, just that one particular song. So that was kind of my reference, and I'll use that as my reference for when it comes to EQing, when it comes to mixing, kind of the sound at the end. You know what I mean? But that's enough talk. Let's try and incorporate these sounds into an actual song. Okay, so here we are in my DAW of choice, which is Studio One. I think we're on version 5 right now. Disclaimer, this video can be extremely long if I wanted it to be, because you can go into full detail of what you're seeing here on the screen. So I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible, because I realized already this video is probably already 3 minutes in before we've even got to making the music section, right? So I'm going to quickly run through what's going on here, starting from the top to the bottom, right? So first things first, we got all these little icons here. None of this means anything right now, so let's just can we get rid of these? No. Okay. Here, tempo. So you can see here that I'm keeping quite a generic 85 BPM tempo there. And then as the song progresses, I build up the tempo until suddenly it falls off and drops back down even lower than what it started at, right? Right now, that might be irrelevant, but it may become important further on down the line. So let's just see what we have first. So first instruments that I have here, I'm using a Contact. I'm using actually this instrument from, I think Spitfire Audio. And I think it's called a Stevenson Steam Machine or something like that. If I click on it, you'll see what I mean. It's the right one. So it looks like this. And it sounds like this if a keyboard's connected. Really, really epic sound, right? I mean, you can make some amazing things with that. So what I did was simply this. Now, if I double click onto this piece here, get rid of our plugin here, I'm just playing one single note, which is a C2, just to add an atmospheric sound, right? Then you'll notice here, if you take a look down here in my pitch bend section, I've got it going very normal. And then halfway through that, 2 bars in, on the 3rd bar, it starts to dip down in pitch and then comes back again. And that ends up sounding like this. So let's just solo that and hit play. Pretty dope, right? That's pretty dope. So that's how I kind of started off this little song here. I just kind of wanted to get myself in this world. I wanted to build this atmosphere to start with. So that was the very first thing I drew for. And then the next thing up is this little melody here. Now, a lot of these may look a little bit different to you because sometimes these plugins take up a lot of usage on the PC. So I have to bounce them down into an audio file. Let's take a listen to this particular instrument here. Let's see where this one's from. So this one, once again, is another Contact instrument. I think it's another Spitfire one. So if I minimize the first one we had up, open this one up. So this is what we're using now. I think this is the Stacked Symphonies. So the first plugin I was using, the first preset I was using is the one called A Fond Farewell. This one's Stacked Symphonies, in the same kind of Steam thing that you find. I think you find it inside Albion V from Spitfire. So if I press play on this one now, so you get that kind of sound, right? And the actual notes that I was playing are these ones below right here. So I'll double click on that. You can see what I'm playing there, and I'll press play on that so you can get an idea. Solo it. So it's this constant melody that's constantly raising, but it feels like it never really develops and gets anywhere. And I felt like it worked well with the whole ethos of Dark as well. I feel like sometimes they're just trapped in time zones and you feel like they're going to make a progression, but they never make a progression. And that's kind of what this melody is here doing for me. I'm doing a lot of hand gestures here, but you guys can't see nothing. You just see the screen. So maybe you can see it through the mouse. That's my hand gesture right there. Anyway, right, let's move on to the next one. So we've got our atmospheric sound. We've got our melody that's blending inside of that. Now, these notes all underneath here are that same melody again, but they've just been saved into an audio file. And as you can see here, the volume's just creeping up and down on them. So they're a little bit of adjustment. So we won't really need to play those ones because it's the same melody. It's just with some audio volume going on there. So track 4 now is the next one with a main instrument on it. And this one is actually a brass instrument. So if I come over here again, back again, we're in contact. I'm just going to minimize this one here. And it's horns essential, which I'm using. So you've probably seen this before. Brass ensemble by Symphony and Essentials, you know. And I just simply used a nice swell articulation on this one. So when I hit the note, which is another C2 again, let's move this out of the way. Boom. That looks C2. Gives us that beautiful sound there, you know. So that once again is just another sound that I layered into this, right? Moving on. So what you can see here is another instrument which I've actually completely disconnected, so it doesn't play in this song whatsoever. It was just a sound that I had through an Oberheim from Arturia. I decided not to use it in the end anyway. So let's just skip that one. Let's go to the next one here, which is this OBXD, which is a pretty dope synth, to be honest. And on this one, you can see I played some notes and then I've muted the notes out because I saved it out as a waveform. And this just makes it easier to do some edits and like reverbs and stuff like that. I'll show you what I was doing on all the channels later on. So this won't play, but the one beneath it will. So let's hit solo on that one and we can hear what sound we was making there. You'll notice it's the same notes as before, just building up. It's got a bit more of an electronic guitar sound. And then you can see the envelopes that I've added here to build up the volume getting into it. So it actually feels like the sound is progressing and building, and then suddenly it drops back off to end the reverb. Easy, simple. Let's move on to the next one. Now we're on Fab Filter 1, which is this little instrument here, which looks so super basic, but it's pretty dope. Now I can play you through what that sounds like here. Hit solo on it. And here, once again, it's that same melody. I just took that melody and I used it over and over and over on different instruments. Really simple stuff. There's no point getting completely intricate. You just got to kind of like set the vibe, stick with it. You know what I mean? So let's play that one. I really like that sound. It's really kind of, it's got that weird like digital organ road kind of sound to it. And if you want to know how to make that yourself, I just use the default. And as you can see, I can just a little twists and turns on here. So you can maybe copy that and make your own preset out of it. Yeah, everything underneath that are the waveform versions of that. So I've just turned it into waveform. And then as you can see, more envelopes, more rolling off, stuff like that, just to add some more texture and stuff like that. Same again all the way down here, and then we have this impact here. Now obviously we're dealing with dark, right? Dark's all about time, so I wanted to make my own ticking clock sound. I didn't want to get a sample. I wanted to make my own one so I can control it purposely. I can add my own delay separately for it and everything, you know what I mean? And how I did it, I used Impact, which is the drum machine here in Studio One. And I switched out these two instruments here. So I've got a perk double and a perk twos. That's one sound, and that's the other sound. And when you combine that together, you get this ticking sound here. Now note, you can hear some reverb on it, and you can hear some delay on it. And we'll talk about that in a moment. So that's that. So far we've got our textures. We've got our subtle melodies that we've produced on a few instruments. We've got our ticking clock, a ticking clock sound in there. And now we can move over to some other instruments here. You can see this one is this Solina, what I've got built here. I played that up top and then I put that into a waveform once again so I can add envelopes and do some more effects with inside, you know, the effects tab rather than just using the native synth. So we can play one of those and let you know how that one sounds. Let's hit solo on this. And that's all about bending the sound. So if I actually show you the MIDI of that, as you can see here, we're just dropping we've got an E2 and we've got an E3. We're literally just going 1 octave up. And then if you go to pitch bend again, you'll see I'm keeping it normal. Then I'm just bending that pitch down to get that bending of time, which we seem to hear a lot inside Dark. And I kind of feel like that sound is kind of the signature sound for Dark right there. Obviously, that instrument is covered in reverb, covered in effects to make it unique. You know what I mean? As we go down, it gets a bit more simplified from this point on. I mean, the whole track is quite simple anyway. Here we have another muted out sound. I think some sounds I liked and then I decided I don't want to use those no more. But it looks like I may have saved that down as a waveform. So let's take a listen to what this sound is. Really, again, really subtle. It's that same bending kind of sound, but I've just been done so subtly. I'm guessing it's just to add a slight little bit more tension, a slight little bit more texture. And then finally we have a low sub bass. If I hit solo on that one, click it, I've already saved this as a waveform. The initial notes are like this, boom 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 boom. We can play it along the same thing. It's just to add a nice low gristle tone to the whole mix. Nothing special. Very basic, and that was done through Presence XT, another built-in plugin here inside Studio One. So I hit stop on that. So yeah, that's basically the build of this song, right? I think it came out okay. And I think you guys, if you haven't checked out Studio One yet, you should go and check out Studio One. It's like, I came from the Apple world, so I came from Logic and stuff like that. I couldn't find a software that was the same. I mean, there's Cubase, of course, right? Pro Tools. But I just felt like when I jumped onto Studio One, it did everything I needed to do. You know what I mean? It was perfect for me. So anyway, let's go into the mix tab now. And I can show you some of the things I've got here. So a lot of the time, if I get rid of this, let's have a look at some of these instruments. So you'll see how I've got an Ampire, which is like an amp machine, pushing it through loads of different amps just to create different sounds. That's what I'm doing here. This here is just another compression kind of unit. So adding compression, changing the sound up a bit like it's getting filtered through different amps. A lot of Valhalla reverb rooms on these things. Valhalla is an amazing reverb unit. I mean, you should check this out if you haven't already. And then a bit of sound shifting on some of the instruments through waves. This one here looks like I brought a sound down an octave or an octave. And then some EQ on some things, not everything. More Valhalla rooms. Is there any other plugin that's completely different? We have a H delay. Now this is on our TikTok sounds, you know, the delay is working there. I've gone for a 1/8. It's pretty cool. And then we have a Doppler over here. Now the Doppler effect is, you probably heard that in Dark as well, there's a guy called Doppler. It kind of gives this passing sound effect kind of thing, you know what I mean? So if I solo this instrument, I'm not sure where this one comes into play. So that sound here where you can hear it bending. With the Doppler over here. So it's not only bending, it's also moving around inside the stereo field. So here it's moving to the right side now. Plays one more time. It starts from the left, mainly, pushes to the right. If I was to push this further up, it'd be a more aggressive sound. But it's just really subtle. So it's not only bending, but it's passing by you as well, left to right, which is pretty dope. I was happy with that one. as far as next plugins go, I got an L2 stereo, which is kind of a go-to for a lot of instruments. If an instrument's too low for me, I'll pump on one of these. As you can see, I'm keeping my ceiling really low with this sound. So this is obviously a very, very low sound, which I don't want it to sound overpowering. So I've just kept it low in the mix still, but still pumped some threshold into it. And then we can move on to my uber favorite plugins, which is here on my master output. So on the very, 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 very last, I have another L2 just to make sure that this whole mix is not peaking over. Just kind of limits it off. And then we've got a Kramer tape. I feel like it adds a nice texture and a warble to the sound. Above that, we have a one knob, fatter. It makes the whole mix sound fatter. So if I was to grab, say, let's just go to a little section of the song here. I don't want to play the whole song yet, but if I do that, take this off, and I'm going to switch it on and off as it plays. You see how it subtly brings up some of that darker, dirty, bassy kind of sound, that low to mid sound. It brings it back, right? And then my go-to is this Gullfoss. If you haven't heard of Gullfoss yet, I mean, continue this video, but then go and check out Gullfoss. Or you know what? Pause right now. Well, not right now because you can't hear what I'm saying, but in a second, pause. Go onto Google, type in Gullfoss plugin, and research. This thing will blow your mind. It's an AI unit. This is all ran by artificial intelligence. It's basically a computer which is actively EQing your whole mix as it goes along. And it sounds incredible. Like you can recover certain sounds which your mix is lacking. You can tame certain sounds which your mix is overpowered in. And that's kind of what this whole graphic is here already. This is my recovery of the lows. It's taming of the middles. And this is kind of how I left it just a minute ago. You can turn the bias of how much it wants to push what it thinks is the best thing. It thinks is the best thing that people like to hear in a mix. You know what I mean? It can brighten the sound or muddy the sound. And I've muddied it because this is dark and I want it to sound dark. So as I hit play on this, you'll see this constantly change. I can even grab my low end here, which I've got at 20 Hertz. I can pull that over here so it's not affected. Or I can just affect this area. You know what I mean? It's really, really cool. Let's leave that there. Let me hit play. Now look at that. Constantly. AI just moving around. The ticks you see move. And if you're wondering, well, okay, that's great. Nice graphic. But how does that actually sound? Take a listen to this. Switch all those off. Switch this one on. Watch what happens when I switch this off. Is that not mind-blowing? Crazy, right? It goes from a really nice, open, bright kind of, you can hear every instrument sound, to suddenly muddy and disgusting. Let me do that one more time for you. Listen to this. And off. Oh. You switch it off and it sounds like suddenly you just lost all the quality of the song. Woo! Go check out Gullfoss, baby. I'm telling you, it's the one. All right, let's have a whole listen of the song right now, because I mean, this is already 20 minutes of going over this little mock-up here, so I don't want this to be an hour-long video. Okay, you ready? Let's listen to the final edition, and then I'll end this video. So thank you very much for watching. Hit subscribe, hit like if you enjoyed this, and if you definitely want to see me do some more mock-ups of loads of different popular Netflix series, computer games, you know, trailers, TV shows, films, adverts, please do let me know in the comments, because I plan to do that anyway. I just really enjoy doing this, and if you guys want to see the inside of how my mind works and the things I'm using, then yeah. Anyway, I'll stop talking. Feel free to watch this through. Peace.